Where was that thing? Here it is. Voila. Okay. Hi, everyone. So, questions. I guess I'm just answering questions today. I'm at home, so that's why we don't have the slick setup, and that's why Denise's not here, and we haven't figured this out. So, my dog will probably interrupt. She's being good right now, or dogs, since people have been requesting to see more of my dog. So, I imagine at some point in this chat she's going to be bothered and interrupt. So I guess these chats are themed around my birthday challenge because I said I had to do X amount of online chats, answer X amount of questions, and then have, what did I have to do? Oh, videos, make some videos. So, you're on. Oh, am I on now? Gotcha. Hey, everyone. I'm not on because I'm looking at it. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I've got delay here. I'm going to have to turn that off. Okay. We'll get this sorted out. We had questions, so should we start with questions? I guess I should talk about my birthday challenge, what I'm doing. So I've been doing birthday challenges since I was pretty young. I first heard about them when I was a kid. I saw Jack LaLanne pulling boats across. He was pulling, but the first one I saw, he was pulling boats from Alcatraz, and his hands and feet were shackled. He was pulling a boat with people, and he was old. He was 65, I think it was that year. And it was a birthday present to himself, and he was doing this cool feat of strength, and I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. I want to do that. But I was an athlete, and I kind of couldn't do it because it always came during a season. I played basketball, and it was during basketball season, so I could never really do challenges until some point in college when I didn't have any more eligibility, and I started doing challenges, and I've been doing them not every year, but a lot of years ever since, and I test all sorts of different things, physical, mental, sometimes intellectual, sometimes just strange and goofy. And this year the theme was, because I'm turning 53, was recuperative powers, trying to do a few things. One was improve my fitness over 53 days. And that's pretty easy, except for each weekend I'm going to do something really, really hard that breaks you down, that most sports scientists would say, well, that's not enough recovery time for you to increase your fitness. It's going to break down. So I thought, well, if I schedule this right and I get my nutrition right, I might be able to handle this volume and increase my fitness. So we're looking at that, and a big part of it was also organizational improvement. How much can you a lot of times when you're tired, and we run into this with our customers, we're tired, you're tired all day, and you say, I don't have enough energy to work out. And sometimes you're right. Sometimes you don't, and you should rest, and sometimes you can push through these things and just continually get better, like you're nowhere near your limit. And we're testing that a little bit. I've been up late a lot, finishing my work, doing things that I need to do for the family, or around the house, or just my job, because a lot of this things like this chat, which I do generally anyway, but now I'm doing once a week, I've just added to my overall workload in addition to adding to my workout load during the week and then doing high volume on the weekend. So it's an interesting test, and we're a weekend, and the weekend killed me. Just I was destroyed. On Monday morning, I felt like I'd had a huge weekend and was very, very tired. Just recovered on Monday. Got a lot of work done, so it went okay. And then Tuesday I had a hard day again, a hard workout day, and I'm feeling it a bit. I'm tired, but it's still going okay. So week 1, it shouldn't be too bad. We'll see how we're doing in week 2 or 3. That's when kind of chronic fatigue starts to set in, if it's going to happen. So we'll see how that goes. But so far so good, and I see questions here, so I guess I should get to them. And part of this is to answer a lot of questions. If you see, I have a backlog of mail all the time that I don't have time to get to, even the message boards and stuff. We're pretty good there because that gets top priority. Pitch for the message boards. If you want me to answer a question, go there first. That's work. That's the place where we default to. So if you want your questions answered quickly, you go to the expert section of the message boards, and we'll get on that. That's usually sometimes right away turnaround, but usually in a day, maybe a little longer on a weekend. So what do we have? We have Keelan, 19. Okay. I've been doing T25 for 5 weeks and eating right. I feel though I've just lost inches, but the scale hasn't moved. Curious as to why. I also don't have a lot to lose, but disappointed when I get on the scale. Okay, this is a great question. First of all, that she doesn't have a lot to lose is even more telling. You get in, when you don't have a lot to lose, you get into what Tony Horton refers to as the last hurrah area. It's the hardest bit of your body to move, and the reason for that is kind of technical. It's homeostasis. It's that your body gets comfortable at hello? Am I back? Sorry, everybody, I got kicked off. I'm not sure that I'm on, though. I'm going to go back through my link and see. This might happen. I'll keep talking in case I'm on. Because this is the first time we've set up at my house, and because I have this new fancy computer without an Ethernet port, I'm wireless, and wireless tends to go in and out. Now I'm confused to what's happening. Keith, are you there?
I am here, and looks like you're back.
I'm back?
Yeah.
Okay. So this thing, okay, good. So I was answering a question about T25, and I lost the other questions that were on the screen, so I'll have to get those back. Anyway, the T25 question was great. Your last hurrah area, it's always hard to lose. So what you look at when you're looking at last hurrah, like you're pretty close to your ideal weight, and you just want to get that little bit extra, you look at a few factors. Is your nutrition clean? She said hers was. And then you look at performance. How are my workouts going? Am I continually improving kind of day to day and even more important week to week? That's huge. If you're continuing to improve, your body is changing. It may be subtle and may hang on to, say, excess fat or things for a little bit longer, but as long as that performance improvement is happening and your diet's clean, your body will react to that and it will make changes. So that's massive. We always look at performance as your gauge for how your workout's going. As soon as that performance starts to tail off, your workouts aren't going as well as they were, now you have to look at reshuffling something. The second thing was your scale wasn't budging, but you said your inches were starting to change. That also is huge. Muscle weighs more than fat on your body. So as your inches change and you're making exercise improvements, you know that things are going in the right direction, and it's just a matter of time before you drop weight as well. But more important than weight is inches. We have a lot of success stories over the years. People who were like yourself, didn't have a lot to lose, completely changed their body, but didn't lose any weight or even gained weight, but they look a lot thinner because, again, their muscle to fat ratio is different, and muscle by volume is much smaller than fat. So you can actually gain weight and lose a lot of size. So there's that answer. Next we have Crystal. What to eat during workout programs, especially TurboFire, Les Mills Pump, Hybrid. I've cut out. Well, you bought the program, so they come with a nutrition guide. We work pretty hard on those, and we think they're pretty good. In fact, when we create our guides for the programs, in the beginning, we had a couple of templates we used, but then we've adjusted those over the years based on your feedback and working with customers, because we worked with thousands and thousands of customers over the years, and we get a lot of feedback, and we find what works, and that's what we do. So we're essentially, every time we create a new nutrition guide, we're answering a lot of frequently asked questions we get, because we don't want to get questions, right? We want to do everything perfect. So read that guide. There's loads of tips in there. It'll really help. Beyond that, you can come to the message boards if you have questions. And the message boards are cool because we have a staff that works in there, and we can get to the bottom of your problem. If you have a nutritional issue or a workout issue, we can usually find it pretty quick. We've been doing it a long time. We're pretty good at it. Let's see. I've got some long questions today. Wow. John Costa. Hey, John. He's asking about BCAAs, branched chain amino acids. Do we have a supplement, a BCAA supplement? We do not. We might in the future. I'm not sure. BCAAs are interesting. There's some pretty good science on them. There's a lot of people that swear by them. There's not a lot of great evidence that they're necessarily helpful. If the rest of your dietary bases are covered, you don't really need them. There's no evidence that you do. That said, I think they can be helpful. Like we said, there's some good science. When you dig into the science, you're like, well, okay, it worked for this person, but their diet was a little deficient in certain amino acids. So it's not a high priority. It's on our list of what we're trying to do right now. I would say there's a better chance we'll get that BCAAs will be a part of a larger supplement, probably maybe nighttime. But we'll see. I'm getting a little ahead of myself there. But we're definitely working on our supplement line for sure. And we have some really smart people working on it. So hopefully sooner rather than later. I'm excited about it. I've been testing some things lately. I don't think I can talk about them that are pretty cool. So let's see. Was there anything else? Oh, thoughts on them. That was my thought on BCAAs. Can you discuss pH levels, things like protein versus acidic? Okay. Yeah, pH levels. You should really get a Denis chat for this because he loves to dig into this. There's a couple of things that work there on the big picture. In fact, the whole pH thing is fairly debated because your blood pH doesn't really change. In fact, what people are actually talking about when they talk about pH levels in your body is a lot of kind of hippie science, hocus pocus stuff that's not really proven, and some of it's actually proven the other way. You can't change that. That said, at the root of what they're getting at is that our diets are too filled with acidic foods. They're really talking about our diets are filled with too much sugar, too much meat, too much alcohol. All of these things have effects not on your blood pH, but on digestion. And people talk about flora, intestinal flora, the pH of that. And even that's debated. In fact, they've done tests, and I've done some more anecdotal testing. And it's hard to get that stuff to change. You do urine tests and things. And anyway, without extremely messing around with your diet. But to get back to the root of what they're at, we do eat too many acidic foods. We eat a lot, and at the root of that, too much junk. Our diets are filled with too much, the things you said, too much meat, too much, more important than meat, too much sugar, too much alcohol, and really it's sugar. I mean, when you get right down to it, it's sugar. If we can get sugar out of our diets, too much sodium is bad as well, very bad, because prepared foods, convenient foods have way too much sodium. Sodium and salt and sugar are the root of everything that's wrong with the diet of Americans, and not just America anymore. We started the trend, but a lot of countries are fully on board with this. Obesity rates skyrocketing. I think Greece has passed us, and a couple of other countries. And it kind of comes down to sugar. There are a lot of other items, a lot of other things that we do wrong. When we talk about alkaline diets, what's an alkaline diet? It's high in fruits and vegetables. And you cannot find a nutritional text, except for maybe some old Atkins things, anything that's kind of balanced, that doesn't just say the first thing wrong with diets worldwide is we don't eat enough fruits and vegetables. It's a simple fix, but it's not a very sexy fix because a lot of people don't want to do that. So that's kind of your answer on that one. And these things are ripping through here. I've got to figure this out. Sorry if I missed your question. I'll try and get to everybody. God, there's long questions here today. This never happens when it's just Denis and I. Let's look at this one. I'm a 46-year-old male. I've been doing Beachbody there's no name attached to this. Been doing Beachbody for 3 years. I've done X, X2, Insanity, and now I'm on beta phase of T25. After I complete this round, I'm going to do Body Beast. I've seen the ads for X3, and I'm excited about trying that one as well. Will I get just as much out of a workout from the shorter format of X3 as X and X2? Okay, sorry, that's pretty long. I think somebody just wants to know about X3. All right, if you've done, and your X3 X3 is awesome. It's going to be, it's almost like I don't want to say the best of, but there's a lot of the best elements in X and X2 that have been incorporated into X3 into shorter workouts. Fantastic, really helpful. For someone like myself who does a lot of sports, I'll be using them a lot because I have limited time to train outside of my sports training, so I like to do things that are very, very efficient, physiologically efficient. It's going to be great for that. If you've been hammering X2 for an hour a day, you will still get benefits from X3, things that are slightly different. When we talk about the muscle confusion, we talk about adaptation, mastery, those kind of phases. If you read the guidebook, that will happen, but you're probably so fit at some point that X3 alone for 30 minutes, it's not going to take you to further fitness than X2 is going to take you in an hour, or an X2 Asylum hybrid or something like that you're doing. So it will become another tool in your arsenal, but it's not going to be the be-all, end-all. So, but that's actually a good problem to have if you're to that point. You make your own schedules. You pull from your own, kind of like I do. I have, can't see them back there. There's a bunch of workouts there, and then if you go out in the garage where my real gym is, there's a bunch more workouts. I mix and match all the time. I throw things together, and I use the right tool for the right job. And we have this huge library of workouts. The more you have and the more you understand how they work, the better you can keep that adaptation happening. And when you keep your body adapting to change and different workouts, that's when you see performance continually, improve over time. So, and along with performance is everything else, like we talked about. Body composition changes follow performance. You increase your body's performance, get your diet in line, body looks good. Just look at the Olympic Village. Not too many unfit-looking folks in there, and they do all sorts of different types of training. So let's see now where I'm at. Keep falling behind. Let's go, Allison. Do you think results in recovery is good to take after a workout? Really give me good results. Here's how results in recovery works. It's almost an old subject. We talk about it so much. You can go to my blog and search it, steveedwardsfitness.com. You can also search it. You can also just search results on recovery Beachbody newsletters, and you'll get an article, at least one article I wrote, maybe 2 or 3, and maybe one Denis wrote. Anyway, let's talk about how that works. Results in recovery formula requires that you train. You have to earn that supplement, is how a lot of people put it. If you look at the ingredients to that, it's the kind of thing you wouldn't want to consume when you're just sitting around, say, watching TV or any other time you're not active. But when you exercise, and when you exercise hard, your template completely changes. It flip-flops. So when you're on, say, one of our nutrition programs, so you're doing P90X and you're following the P90X nutrition guide, and especially in the early phase of that diet guide, you're probably by design not getting enough carbohydrates to really fuel you through the day. We want to, that's why the amount of carbohydrate in that diet changes. It goes up over time. And when you're training without a lot of carbohydrate in reserves, because it's stored in your body and it doesn't store very much of it in your muscles, and it's called glycogen, and that will fuel your workout, but you run out of that in about an hour. And if your diet's pretty lean, you're training really hard, you'll run out of it in less than an hour. You can't. So when you are out of glycogen, the number one thing that matters is how quickly you replenish your blood sugar, and that is what results in recovery does. It replenishes blood sugar, which minimizes muscular damage. And when I say that, the damage is just natural breakdown from the workout, and greatly increases your recovery time. On static tests versus people who do nothing and people who take something like recovery formula, it's something like a 4-to-1 improvement in recovery. So however they measure that, they found something like a 400% improvement. Now, if they take it versus other recovery protocols, it's just a little bit higher. But protein alone, for example, because protein is what you would think to take, because protein is made of amino acids, and that builds muscle. It takes too long to absorb when you're out of glycogen, and by the time your body digests the protein, more muscle damage is done if you're out of glycogen, out of blood sugar, and it can't offset that as fast. So in a really hard workout, if you're training really hard, it's huge. It's like, I've heard so many different descriptors for it: free calories, liquid gold. I mean, you can just feel it. If you go out and you're absolutely drained after a hard workout, like I'll work out so hard I feel like I can barely make it to the couch to pass out. You're really tired. You'll hit yourself with some of that, and you instantly start feeling better. So it's that's how it works, and you can read more about it in those articles. So let's go. I got Tom here. Love the PAP inclusions in X2, and I'm fascinated with the work of P3. P3 is the Peak Performance Project in Santa Barbara. It's a elite training facility that my friend Marcus runs, and Dr. Marcus Elliott, is the head of our scientific advisory board for Beachbody. But he spends his time, and he owns this training facility, training professional and high-level college athletes, some really, really lucky high school athletes as well. Really cutting-edge stuff that they do there, and they helped us develop X2 and X3. Will there be more PAP related to the workouts in X3? That's the question. So PAP stands for post-activation potentiation. In short, it is something that is very, very effective at the highest level of training, but you have to work up to it. So it makes an appearance in the third phase of X2. It will make an appearance also in X3 in the third training block, and it's sort of a little more of a baseline using PAP, but the same fundamentals. We're sort of bringing you along. The whole idea of actually, it started with Power 90, and we could take this over all of Beachbody because it all falls under this. But if you take Power 90, Power 90 is our base program. That's the program that you would start with if you're really out of shape, and then as you graduate Power 90, you're ready for P90X, and as you graduate P90X, you're ready for P90X2, which leads you into, hopefully, maybe we'll take the next level from that and be more sport specific. So now you would train your foundation, if you read the X2 guide, is very, very solid, your physiological foundation. So you would, spin that off into whatever activities you like to do. If you like to run marathons, if you like to power lift, or, whatever it is, play basketball, play tennis, play golf, we might, in the future, make programs tailored specifically for that. How does X3 fit into that? X3 is shorter. It actually is going to fit all across the XX2 model, so it'll fit right where kind of X starts, and the entry levels maybe even a little bit lower than that, and it goes all the way up to kind of to where X2 ends. But I think if you've got a PAP X2 workout that's an hour, and you've got a 30-minute one, the hour, you're getting in the, it's a harder workout. If you can handle it, you'll do better with it. But that's kind of where that fits in. So anyway, your answer is yes, the short answer. There will be more. Let's see, what do we have? What are your thoughts on carb cycling, such as having 2 low carb days with most of your complex carbs in the morning? Is everybody getting this? Eating veggies, protein, and healthy fat the rest of the day, followed by a high carb day. Well, a high carb day we eat grain and things. I've done this a lot over the years in various forms, always surrounded by some type of athletic goal. So my answer to you would be, what are you doing? What's your goal for this? As a general rule, it's not necessary. I can't even answer it, because the thing is, it might work in your lifestyle, it might work depending on your training. It's a strange thing to do, so it would have to have the way you start when you start training and you start dieting is you start with a goal. So you start with your physiology, where you're at, and then you start with the end goal. And you start with that end goal and you work backwards from that goal, and then you fill in the puzzle from there. When we start with an exercise program, we start with the end goal and we work backwards from there and to the starting point, whatever we want that starting point to be. I would need to know your end goal for that and why you would be doing it. There's nothing you're doing in there that's particularly bad for you, but it's also, a lot of diets that people throw out there are they make you do a lot of work, and the be-all end-all means of those is to get you to eat healthier. So, but if they just tell you to eat healthier, maybe you won't do it. But maybe if you put the work in, then maybe you will do it. And that works, actually. That's how a lot of hit diet books become hits. In the end, you go, hey, wait a minute, I'm just eating healthy. I could have just done that from the start, but, whatever works. So I don't see anything wrong with that. You're not going to hurt yourself. That's for sure. Another question on losing the last few pounds. I seem to be losing and gaining the same 5 pounds. I've done Brazil butt lift for 90 days, hip hop abs for 60 days. I'm doing a hybrid of them, eating around 1,300 calories, fluctuating. Go to the message boards. I could answer this. This is a very specific question. The answer is stick with it, but you probably you need to eat a little bit more calories. We probably need to tweak your diet a little bit. This is the kind of thing we can do. You can give that information, cut that question out, put it in the nutrition board in the expert section of the message boards, and we'll have a look at it. We'll do some back and forth. We'll ask you some questions, and we can try a few things. That's what your trainer would do if you went to the gym, because a lot of these things are based on you. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have heard that nutrition and exercise advice is not the same for every single person, and it's not. Every scenario is slightly different, even though there's a lot of commonalities. Yeah, we can figure that out, but I can't give you the answer without asking you some questions and doing a little back and forth. You might need to change your exercise too, but I think it's a calorie thing. It's my guess right here, but and more calories is what we get at. What happens is, I'll give you an overview on this. As you start to train and you're out of shape, and you need to, wait, I got something from Keith here. This is important. Keith runs these things. I don't know. Anyway, as you start to train, you're out of shape, you need to eat less and exercise more, probably. That's the standard template people work on. So a lot of people say that need to have a lot of weight to lose. They start off eating very little, say you're eating 1,300 calories and exercising whatever you can handle. And that works great. But at some point, your body composition changes. You have more muscle. You have less body fat. Your heart rate can handle, your heart gets healthier. It can handle more load. You can push yourself anaerobically more. You can push your muscles more, basically. It changes the nutritional template. All of a sudden, that 1,300 calories starts to become not enough because your body's getting fit. Now, so at some point it stops losing weight now because it doesn't have the energy to handle what you're trying to do, the demands you're putting on it. And the only way to continually lose weight is to start eating more, because you've got to eat more and you've got to feed that musculature that you've created to get the right hormones to fire for recovery and that template that makes you change body composition and thus lose weight. So we find people that come in, we often start them with not very many calories. But one of the main pieces of advice we give to people is to start adding calories as they get fitter. And I've seen people, we had a guy who I was pretty pretty heavy, and he came in and he was eating 1,200 calories, and I think he was doing Slim and Six back then. And then he had Power 90, and he was losing weight. He lost a lot of weight, and then he was stuck, kind of like you're stuck. And we were like, you got to eat more. And he was afraid to eat more because that's how he got heavy in the first place, but he did. And as he started inching up his calories, about 300 calories at a time, for a week period, he got his metabolism moving, and he started losing weight, and he lost more and more weight until he was way skinnier than he wanted to be, and he had to more than double his calories. He went from 1,200 to like 3,200 calories before he could, and he dropped. He was like stuck at 190. He couldn't get to where he wanted to be, which was 170 or 175, and he went all the way down to like 140 because he wouldn't eat enough. And we finally got him up over 3,000, and finally he got his weight back up, and he got up, and he's maintenance a little over 3,000 calories for a 175-pound fit guy. So, that's kind of the way it works. Let's see. Okay. Another recovery formula question here. Somebody's asking how they would stay fueled for a tournament of Ultimate Frisbee. We usually play 3 to 4 games a day. So essentially, you're exercising all day outside in the sun, and you're not used to it. Your nutrition template now runs along the same exact thing I was talking about with recovery. If you eat a large meal with a lot of fat, well-rounded meal, that might be actually pretty good a lot of the time, because fat slows absorption of nutrients, and that's generally good because you don't get a blood sugar spike. Great for when you're sitting around, bad for when you're playing Ultimate Frisbee or an activity. So for somebody playing sports all day long, you need to replenish your blood sugar, because your blood sugar runs out in an hour, hour and a half, depending on how intense your activity is, or sometimes less. So you've got to keep taking in carbohydrate all day long. But they did some science. Well, they've been doing science forever, and we now know that adding some protein, but not too much, because remember, protein's slow to absorb. You want some protein with your carbohydrates. 4 to 1, 4 parts carb to 1 part protein is kind of the standard protocol now. It used to be the magic protocol, but it doesn't have to be perfect. A lot of carbs, a little bit of protein, not much fat in this time, because fat is even slower to absorb. So if you eat a bunch of nuts, which are great for you, but you're trying to play a game of Ultimate Frisbee and run around full speed, they're just going to sit in your stomach. They're not going to digest quick enough. So you're kind of in that recovery formula all day long would work great for that kind of activity. That's what I'll do. You see cyclists that are out for 5 or 6 hours. That's what's in their water bottle. They're eating, a lot of carbs, a little bit of protein, some other targeted nutrients, not very much fat. They'll eat fat at night, when they're done, but not then. So let's see. Let's go back. I think I missed a lot. Wow, this one's long. Too long. Okay. Sorry, these are long questions. It's taking me a little while to read through them. Here's a Shakeology question. Okay. I just listened to you discuss recovery drink on a former chat, and I discussed it again today. It's a popular topic. I'm curious if Shakeology will give the same results as recovery drink, and can they be interchanged? Great question. And the answer is no, but it's no with a big asterisk by it, because what I just talked about with carb to protein ratio and very little fat, Shakeology is not that. I think it depends on which one you're having, but there's some carbohydrate, there's more protein than carbohydrate, so it's more of a protein drink. There's also not a lot of fat, a little bit. It's good fat. And it's not generally the thing that would be great during exercise, but I use it during exercise sometimes. I don't use it if I'm racing my bike. I wouldn't use it in a Frisbee tournament where you're really going hard. But if I'm doing low level exercise all day, where I don't need instantaneous, I'll still take in carbohydrate outside of this, but I don't need instantaneous turnaround on that blood sugar. I will use Shakeology. Say I'm outside, say I'm rock climbing all day. Rock climbing is a little bit of aerobic with a lot of anaerobic work, and then a lot of rest, downtime in between. Something like that. Say I'm playing games of basketball, but in between my games of basketball, I have long rests, and then I play another game. Yeah, Frisbee too. Maybe if you have 2 hours to your next game or something like that, Shakeology would be good in between. It's not a ton of calories, by the way, so it would be something you would use once or maybe twice. It wouldn't give you enough energy, calories, to be your be-all, end-all for the day, but it would help you throughout that day, and that's kind of what I do because it has so many nutrients and you're creating a lot of breakdown. If you have a break in that day and a rest in that day, it's a really good thing because it absorbs actually quite quickly, even though it's protein. The way it's littered with probiotics and enzymes, it just your system can get to it pretty quickly and utilize it pretty quickly. It can be quite helpful in something like that. It's not at all a substitute for recovery formula, but in a different scenario, say a day I do training, my training isn't so hard, it's shorter maybe. I do a short intense workout or something where I'm not completely beat up at the end of it, maybe an easy yoga class or even a short weight workout that just isn't devastating to me. It's just kind of an easy workout. I will use it after a workout like that. So it's a good question. It's kind of a subtle answer, but it has a place in there, but it doesn't do exactly the same thing. Not at all. You try that in the middle of towards the end of a bike race for your energy, or at the fourth quarter of your football game. It's not going to serve you the same way at all. Oops, I clicked out of this. Here we go. We have Robin Mitchell says, I use Shakeology as well as vegan protein and pre and post workout, but I don't do the Beast supplements when I did Beast. It looks like the question's not done, but I think she's asking if, the Beast supplements they're kind of designed around, not kind of, they are. They're designed around the Beast diet. And it sounds like from this that you did Body Beast without the goal of becoming a competition bodybuilder. So that diet plan is specifically to get big. It's not get big like P90X big, it's to get big like Sagi, like to gain a lot of mass, and that requires a lot of eating, an excessive amount of eating. Eating so much that it was the crux for almost everybody in the test group. I didn't meet anybody who wasn't the hardest thing. I've never met a bodybuilder where eating wasn't the hardest thing at first, because they have to eat an excessive amount to get that big. If that's not your goal, and it sounds like from this it's not your goal, then you don't really need that diet plan. You can use, say, a P90X diet plan or any other of our nutrition plans or whatever you like. And then the Beast supplements, while you could work those into whatever diet plan you have, they're not really necessary. You're taking a lot of the elements from it already. With your Shakeology, your vegan protein, pre and post workout, you've got a lot of supplements there now. So you're kind of covering the bases. So I'd say you're good. Unless you're just trying to get massive. And if you're trying to get massive, you got to read that nutrition guide, because it's key, and it's quite good, and it's clever. If that's your goal. Let's see, I got a long question here. Give me a sec. I'm completing week 13 of T25. Completed the first 10. This is from Nina. Hi, Nina. Your question's very long, so give me a second with it. The first 10 weeks, I'm doing the second round currently of alpha. I started at 214. Slim down 13. It's 4 pounds, but a lot of inches. This is another inches question. I hope you were around earlier when I talked about that. Inches are more important than weight, a lot more. You'll catch up to your inches. Keep your inches going. Everything will be good. We have fat shredder level 1, pounds in a week. I've been on this plan for 3 weeks. Weight can just crawl off. Okay, I see. Yes, good question. We've covered everything in here. Okay, what's gone on is she went to the fat shredder phase. I think you mean the fat shredder phase of the P90X diet. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what you mean. It's a low carb phase, and she's having success on that. And your answer is this: stay on that. So she was having moderate success on the normal diet plan, and then she went to the fat shredder phase, phase 1 of the P90X and X2 diets, which is lower carb, and she had really good results on that. That with T25 is a really smart diet plan, actually. And how long you stick with it is as long as it's going well. And again, we're going to get back to performance, and this is how you're going to know when it's time to add more carbs or to move into phase 2, is that your performance is going to fall off. And it's called bonking, but it can be a little bit subtle, and it might in your case be a little subtle. Your workouts are going to get better and better and better, and at some point they're going to start to not get better. You're going to have a week where you're going to be like, I'm not doing so good. And you're going to look for that sign. And a great way, let's go back to another subject today, a great way to tell is if you have 2 or 3 workouts in a row that aren't good, you don't have much energy to get through them that you had the week before, try a little recovery drink at the end of a workout, or even a little bit right before you work out, like half a serving, and see how that workout. And if you kill it, then you've got that aha moment. You are, yes, I know what's wrong with my diet. I need more carbs. And that's when you move into phase 2, and it will work. I mean, just like that. That's all you really need to know. It'll be like magic. Carbs are in your diet for energy. We all need some. Our brain works much better on carbs than anything else. The more exercise we do, the higher percentage of carbs should be in your diet. The less exercise, it's just you need to burn off the carbohydrates that you eat. They don't get stored in the body except for a little bit as glycogen and some in your blood, but it's not very much, and it burns off, like I said, about an hour. So all you can store. If you take in too many other carbohydrates, it gets stored as fat, and this is where we get into the whole problem of obesity. Taking in tons of carbohydrates, we're not going to burn off. That creates havoc in your body. It creates issues with hormonal releases, and that's bad, so we don't want that. That's why low carbohydrate diets are so popular and work so well. But they have a point where they stop working so well, and that's what you're looking for, is bonking, and then you learn to eat for what you do, and once you do that, you're in pretty good shape. Let's see. I have a question here that says, would Rev Abs be a good program to use to cut after my second round of Body Beast in February? You know, Rev Abs is a pretty good program. I don't know that I would choose it, but it kind of depends on you. And if you like it, I think it would work. Yeah, almost anything would work, because cutting is kind of about your diet, and it's a good overall exercise program. It depends what your goals are. There's cutting workouts in the Beast program. You can use just Beast to cut. Maybe that gets boring because it's not a lot of things. I mean, obviously something like Asylum would cut you up, but maybe there's not enough weightlifting, but then there's not a lot of weightlifting in Rev Abs either. X could cut you up. There's a lot of things you could do to cut up is the answer. So yes, it could be. If that's what you have and you want to use it, then go ahead and try it. And if it's not working, then give us a shout on the message boards, and we'll tweak it for you. So here's a gain weight question. Everything kind of going full circle today. Valerie asks, what is your advice to those of us who need to gain weight to be healthy? See, I think it's in the Beast Guide we wrote this. If not there, I've written it elsewhere. I just wrote it for an article, that's right. people who have to gain weight, because everybody who's heavy says everyone who wants to gain weight is lucky. But when you're trying to gain weight, it's hard. It's harder than losing weight. You could, if it depends what your situation is, but you've got to kind of learn to eat more. Some people just have raving, their metabolisms rage and they can't gain weight. And yeah, as you age, this will catch up to you and it'll be kind of lucky, but you've got to learn to eat dense nutrients. That's the key. Things like Shakeology are nice, well, it's low calorie. You've got to eat more is what you've got to do, and you've got to learn to eat. And if you can learn to eat more and eat the proper foods, nutrient timing, timing your nutrients around your exercise can be quite helpful. But again, I don't know your specific situation. It's hard to give you advice, but if you go to the message boards, we can probably come up with some strategies that we think will work, and they probably will work, actually. It's not, all these things are solvable. That's the cool thing about our job here, is that this isn't, there are tricky situations, especially where medications come involved and certain illnesses, but for the most part, we can get results. We know how to do that. So, and it usually works if you'll hang in there and put the work in, kind of. So anyway, come to the boards, and if you can't eat or you have some sort of restriction or a strange problem, and we'll see what we can do. Let's see, a weird question. We got a weird one from Young Ennieth Prawley. That's quite the name. I like it. Young Ennieth. It sounds like. Oh, see, the dogs had to play a part. I guess you guys can hear that. Let's see what the weird question is. Does it make any difference if you drink cold water as opposed to warm water? Trainer here told her, and don't believe it makes a difference. Yeah, the trainer's, you're right, the trainer's wrong. The trainer's not wrong. It does make a difference. They did a study on that. I believe, I don't remember the numbers. It was little. It was like 8 calories a glass. So if you put ice in water every time you drink it, I think if you drank like 2 quarts of water a day, iced versus non-iced, I think it was 140 extra calories. And that kind of adds up, I suppose. So if you want to pound icy cold water all day for 100 calories, I don't know. Yeah, you can, but it's not very many calories. You get that, I don't know. There's easier ways to have 140 calories. I mean, you probably burn 140 calories walking to the ice dispenser that many times too. So maybe you double it, or maybe that was in the study. Anyway, it's very, very small amount. Unless you really like having cold water, there's other things that are better. So let's go. Cody Hawkins, what should I eat before bed? Great question. So Cody Hawkins asks, this is Iris, she's licking me, so since she's, come here and get in the video. There, look, oh, she's being shy. She doesn't know there's a camera there. You're never shy. Okay, now she's gonna get on. Before bed, generally, we try not to eat before bed. You don't want a lot of food sitting in your stomach at night, especially if you're trying to lose weight. You absolutely do not. In fact, you should stop eating a little bit before you go to bed, because everything slows down a little at night, including digestion. So you don't want to go to bed with a bunch of calories sitting in your stomach. However, especially if you need to gain weight, Valerie, bodybuilders and athletes have kind of known this anecdotally. There's been some science that shows a little bit of slow protein at night, any protein, but slow protein that it digests slowly before bed can be helpful. They just did a study with, they've got new tracking systems on the body, and so they showed indisputable evidence, they're calling it, that casein protein, or a slow absorbing protein, and they were a bunch of big guys, so they were taking like 40 grams, which is, doesn't matter how much. If you're smaller, take less. was elevating amino acid profiles, amino acid activity, sorry, for 7.5 hours, the full night of sleep. So if you're trying to build muscle, that's a great tip, casein or any protein that you have before bed. Other than that, I keep your stomach pretty empty. That's a time if you want to take BCAAs. It was the first question of the day, I think, would be a good time. But you know, if you're taking casein protein, maybe you don't need to. But anyway, that's it's good. And Valerie, trying to gain weight, there's a trick right there. You're gonna it's not really gaining weight, but what it is, it's giving you, well, it can be, it's not allowing your crazy metabolism to go without any food. And that probably happens to you if you're that skinny, is that, you know, any food you eat, your body just uses it really quick. So protein at bed will keep amino acids going, which keeps your muscles repaired through the night, and it'll be harder for you to lose weight, and that's what you're trying to avoid. So, does Body Beast mess with women's hormones? No. Well, yes, Body Beast messes with hormones, but not. We want to mess with hormones, in not women's hormones as far as women versus men hormones. No, not at all. Zero. It's not going to affect anything female specific on you. The way the exercise works, we're trying to trigger hormonal spikes that help you gain more muscle mass, but that's not going to hurt anything feminine about you. It will help you. It's basically what anti-aging medicine is. Exercise is kind of anti-aging in that same way. As we get past a certain age, and you know, different hormones shut off at different ages, and different people are a little different, but you know, late 20s or whatever, we peak, and we start slowly dying. So our body starts, you know, producing less of this and less of that. Exercise stimulates the production of a lot of those things. So that's what we're after. And that's a good messing with hormones. That's exactly what you want to have happen. So, you know, if you keep training as you age, your body just breaks down slower and slower, and you age much better. So, let's see. That's all the questions we have time for today. Okay, we're out of time. I might have one more here. I think I missed one. But if I did, because I got a couple minutes. Try and get everybody. Ramen, Shakeology. No, I did that one. And there's a super long one. That one has to go to the boards. Body-based supplements for women. I think I covered that. Okay, so I covered the one I missed. I think. Body-based supplements, same for men and women. It's what are your goals? And those supplements are tied directly to the nutrition plan. If you're doing the nutrition plan, you're trying to get big, same deal, no matter who you are. So that's it. Thanks for coming. You can follow my birthday challenge, and even if you find it boring, you should follow it because you can win stuff. We're giving cool prizes away every week. We're giving away, there's these new Shakeology variety packs. I think we're giving away a few X3s. We might even have a big cool prize like X2 with all the bells and whistles. And all you have to do is send in your own personal challenge on the weekend. So every weekend I'm going to dial it up and do something kind of big. You don't have to do what I do. Make it your own, send it in, win stuff. So yeah, and I'll be back next Thursday. One of these weeks I'll be back Wednesday and Thursday with Denis for our usual banter. And that's especially if you want to get into nutritional nerding. Denis loves to yammer about that stuff. So thanks for coming, and I'll see you in a week. So long.